There's the lineup. Rather than showing them as we sometimes do by country order, here they are as by echelon order, funnel order if you like. Celia Anton, perhaps someone to look out for. She's coming back after a couple of years of injury. Also the good Ukraine, Strebakova in there. There's two of the Germans, Klosterhalfen and Ray. Former under-20 cross-country champion, Tuna from Turkey. See the teams from Portugal and Switzerland into the bargain.
And I think we saw warming up there Anna Emily Müller of Denmark, who was second in the junior race last year. This could be another good race for a Scandinavian country. Denmark have supported these championships really well. Of course, they'll be hosts of the next World Cross Country Championships in 2019.
Yes, Denmark have a few champions to their name as well. I remember Carsten Jorgensen, I think it was back in 1997 now. He was one of the real surprise winners when nobody expected him to come through and win the senior men's race on that occasion. Better known as a top-class orienteer.
And they called him the Moose.
The Moose. Well, no change in the weather conditions. Do apologise, we are getting some slightly weird and wonderful timings on there on our graphics. It's not 10:50, it's just coming up for just gone 9:50 local time, Central European time. So you just have to rely on myself, Phil Minchell, and alongside me Mark Butler to keep you up to date with as accurate information as possible.
Overview, as said, is the same as the previous race, where under-20 boys were competing.
There's Gadini from Italy, and there's the British team, including Amy Griffiths. Strong British team. I think they must be the favourites for the team race. They've won it 8 out of the last 10 years in the women's under-23 category.
Well, we just saw there Jessica Judd, who you remember we saw battling in the junior race in this championships a few years ago. She's gradually progressed. Fantastic world championship for her last year when she did a personal best in the heat to qualify for the semi-finals.
Judd, a World Under-18 Championships medalist on the track as well, over 800 metres. So slightly smaller field compared to the under-20 races. 64 runners in this from 18 different countries. There we see the very strong. And with 3 to count, well, as I said, the British are probably the favourites. Actually, I think the Germans are the favourites. They may well win this category for the very first time.
We just saw Konstanze who won the last 2 editions of this.
Well, with a rather different team. The Germans last year in this race were second. Although in the team as well is Gehrig, who took the individual silver medal. But they've put their 2 runners from last year in the under-20 race, Klosterhalfen, who won, and Ray, who finished 5th last year.
And Amy Eloise Neal there, you see next to Jessica Judd. She's just come back from the US Collegiate Championships where she was second in a very, very high standard race. dual citizenship. Tuna, she was the junior winner before Konstanze Klosterhalfen, so we've got the winners of the last 3 junior races having graduated to under 23s in this race.
Just picking out a few other runners as well. We should also perhaps look at Emma Udiu from France, very strong runner who's third at last year's under 23 championships in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. Well, the Spaniards looking as though they're feeling the cold here. So we saw the starter in action ahead of the men's under 20 race, just giving the women a brief warning. Yes, I think the team competition almost certainly will be between Germany and Great Britain. So they're away in the 3rd race of this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the 3rd start of the day. Under 23 women with German and British favorites, but also Slovak.
Looking at Lucia Janakova, leading Slovak under 23 runner, her 5th appearance at these championships. But there's Jessica Judd straight to the fore, Alina Ray as well, and Amy Eloise Neal. Neal at the University of Washington, which actually isn't in Washington, it's out on the East Coast, it's in Washington State. Tuna also showing there, so some of the favourites already quickly to the fore. Much steadier pace this than the men's and women's under 20 races. I think with the smaller fields there's less likelihood of slips and upsets. There's the slender figure of Konstanze Klosterhalfen. Like the vast majority of these runners opting for a long-sleeved vest underneath her actual national vest. And the Turks showing well behind Tuna. There's also several of the other Turkish runners, including Gilik and Erldal. Gehring at this stage, a long way back. She did come out of the echelon behind Ray and Klosterhalfen. So it's 2 Germans followed by 2 British at this stage. Klosterhalfen and Ray, followed by Neal and Judd, sandwiched in between them. A tuna sandwich, you could say.
I wish I had said it, but you got there first.
Oh, well, it was 5 hours of broadcasting. You've got to give us a little bit of a break occasionally.
Klosterhalfen's not waiting, is she? We've seen her front run before. She did at the World Championships. Sadly, that didn't work out for her because she went.
Yes,
tried to get away before the bell in her semi-final in the 1500 metres, and she fell back and didn't qualify for the final.
Well,
but since then, she's not put her foot wrong. German record in the 3,000 metres after London, and then a very fast 1500 metres. The quickest German since the GDR.
Yes, and behind her, Ray also now starting to separate herself from the 2 British women. I think Ray's probably wondering what she has to do. Of course, she did beat Klosterhalfen at the recent European Athletics cross-country permit meeting in Germany in Darmstadt, which was also one of the German trials races. Well, Klosterhalfen has taken less than a kilometre to make her mark on this race. Ray following her, trying to close the gap. Done it very wisely. I think Klosterhalfen's little surge caught her slightly unawares. Caught us unawares as we were making that very bad joke about the Turkish runner's family name.
Her quest started in about 2 minutes and 30
Oof,
seconds.
look at that though. That overhead shot gives you a picture
For the base and
which impresses how big an advantage already Klosterhalfen and Ray have.
that's the question.
I mean, I make that already about a 30-metre gap between the two Germans back to the Brits and Tuna.
But of course, you don't win team gold medals on margins. It's so the third counter for Germany, who's Gehring, will be the key thing here.
Yes, Gehring not in picture shot at the moment. Ray now back on the shoulder of Klosterhalfen. I mean, Klosterhalfen was at yesterday's press conference and she was playing cards fairly close to her chest regarding her rivals. So Jessica Judd, Emin Hatun Tuna, Gehring back in about 21st place at the moment, and the other Germans further back. So this is that sandy part. They're just coming up to complete the first long lap. We'll get a split of that 1500-metre circuit very shortly. Now Ray going back on her inside. I don't know, Klosterhalfen looks as though she's breathing a little bit hard. Perhaps not a surprise in these very, very chilly conditions. I don't think we've got above 0 degrees yet. And that gap isn't growing now after that surge. Judd and Tuna keeping their eyes. Back in 5th place, I think the second Turkish runner is Kilik. We'll confirm that. We haven't seen too much of the second Turkish runner. Neil alongside Kilik. Now we see Ray and Klosterhalfen, 5-second advantage over Judd and Tuna. No, it's Koku. Busra Koku. Neil Brouwer from Sweden in 7th place. Griffiths completing the scoring trio for Britain. So Britain at the moment with 3 in the top 10. But it's Germany in 1st and 2nd place with a margin of about 40 metres at the moment. And Great Britain, Northern Ireland leading the way with just 11 points, followed by Turkey and then Germany.
And that race for 3rd and 4th is a repeat of the junior race that we watched in Samarkov, 3 years ago, I think, Phil. Tuna and Judd, with Judd leading for most of the way there, and then Tuna coming through on the last lap to win.
Yes, you're absolutely right, that. Yes, I sort of had forgotten about that. I shouldn't have done. I have to say, even though we're only about a third of the way into this race, Ray does look very, very comfortable indeed, and Klosterhalfen seems to be blowing the hardest. However, both of them are so talented, I certainly wouldn't make Ray the favourite at this stage. So Ray, double European under-20 champion on the track in 2015, 3,000 and 5,000. Second in the under-23 European Championships this past summer in Bydgoszcz. Well, looks as though she's had a very, very good winter. I mean, we thought that with her results in Darmstadt.
Yes, Ray was Germany's top junior before Klosterhalfen came around. Klosterhalfen came around.
Both Klosterhalfen and Ray, just 20 years of age, so can come back and contest this event for 2 more years.
And the lead is bigger and bigger of the German duo. Now Jessica Judd is alone, running on the 3rd place. And also Emin Hatun from Turkey 4th, but there you can see the others coming close to her.
I'm just looking up here just to see whether there's been any double individual under-20 women in the past. No, no woman has ever won back-to-back under-23 titles. So possibly, if it is to be Klosterhalfen and Ray who climb the podium or climb to the top of the podium, they could come back next year in Tilburg and defend their titles. We've had double winners in other categories, but not in the women's under-23 race. Well, Mark and I just took a pause for breath. Putting in our coffee order, I won't lie to you, as we return to the race and the serious stuff. So we're halfway into the race now. Just coming up.
And is Jessica Judd closing that gap?
Yes, perhaps? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Yeah, that's definitely down. Over the course of the last 200 or 300 metres, she's reduced that gap from about 40 to 50 metres down to about 20. So she's making a big effort to get back in contention with the two Germans. I have to say, though, I get the impression that Ray did actually ease off a little bit, though. Maybe just not really just daring to throw down the gauntlet just yet, knowing what a fine athlete Klosterhalfen is.
Well, the first full lap was 4:55. It wasn't that special. We'll see what it is after the second lap.
Well, there's just a little bit of sand, which indicates that they're coming through to start the penultimate lap. Yes, definitely the gap has closed. Klosterhalfen and Ray now 4 seconds ahead of Jessica Judd at the halfway point in this race, but then a very, very long gap back to Amy Louise Neal. Brouwer coming through, Griffiths moving up as well on that lap. So too Piszek and Moller. Tuna slipping back though quite dramatically to 10th place. Celia Anton doing well. So the two Turks going backwards, the British going forward, as is Anton. Just a mention of Anton, she's been ravaged by 2 years of injuries, hasn't run on the track in the last 2 years, had one indoor race earlier this year, all sorts of problems including an injury to the femur. Former silver medalist at the in the under-20 ranks. But now the British girls, Griffiths, got back in contention. But there's Judd. Well, it's as it was at the previous lap. Britain, Turkey and Germany, with France and Sweden occupying 4th and 5th place. So now it's this German duel for supremacy.
While you see on the big screen the German duel clearly controlling the situation, we must remind you that
it's operating at quite a different level to the rest of the field, with the possible exception of Jessica Judd, who's about 20 metres back.
Well, the third German scorer, Goering, is just about within the top 15, top 20. If she can improve, that will really boost the German team score, but at the moment Britain are leading that.
Well, Britain are leading quite comfortably. Germany have to overtake the Turks, but the Turks seem to be slipping back quite dramatically. I think they have misjudged this race, perhaps. Although the Balkan Championships recently were held in absolutely torrential and rather cold conditions. It was very, very sticky underfoot. But this is a fast and flat course, which I think caught a lot of people by surprise. We were talking about the weather conditions earlier. We were expecting it to be far more muddy than this. The weather forecast for the last week was supposed to be a large amount of rain, but that hasn't materialised, and it's quite firm underfoot. As you can see, the circuit, after 2 races, we're midway through the third race, hasn't cut up at all so far. Very, very frosty though.
It was very wet on Thursday, but then yesterday very, very strong winds dried the grass, I think. And of course this grass is very well manicured for the needs of horses, and I think there's very little mud anywhere.
So between the top three, this is the chasing trio. These are the women in 4th, 5th and 6th place. So it's Griffith, Neal and the Swede, Bauer. Good run from the Swede, I have to say. She certainly wasn't on our form chart. So Bauer attends the University of San Francisco. Finished 22nd in this race last year, 21 years of age. Finished 15th in the recent NCAA cross-country championships, one in which Neal actually got the silver medal, who's running alongside us. So Bauer having an excellent run here, well above expectations, but at the front, at the sharp end of this race, as we come into the final lap, and they'll heel the bell very shortly, it's Alina Ray. Ray looking very comfortable. Konstanze Klosterhalfen doesn't look quite so comfortable, blowing a bit harder, but still very much hanging on to the coattails of a compatriot.
And that's the second time I've seen Ray look back. I wonder if she's making a move. She seemed to look back beyond her compatriot to Jess Judd. That gap is still...
Well, I think...
stretching again now.
I think this is... Yes, she's just almost... almost unnoticeably just put in a surge there. Yes, she's clearly now putting away from Klosterhalfen as she hears the bell. Well, at the bell, 2 seconds between the two, and I think that gap is growing. Judd behind them, well, Judd has started to slip back. I think that's a manifestation of the fact that Ray has really increased the pace over the final 500 metres.
That last lap by Ray, 4:53. So she's done two 4:53s.
Back down. Griffith and Bauer and Neal. And Moller's now... Well, she's hanging on, is Moller, the second place junior runner from last year. Piesig the pole, well, wasn't expecting you. Weedu has moved up into 10th, 9th place. Tuna slipping back to 10th. Team standings are going to be very interesting. I still make it very much the Great Britain Northern Ireland, with 3 women in the top 6 are leading the way. Turkey, but the gap has closed between Turkey in the silver medal and Germany in the bronze position. So now, after that bit of a breakaway from Alina Ray, Konstanze Klosterhalfen has got back in contention, is back on her shoulder again. So we're into the last lap, this last long lap of 1,500 metres, and this is going to be a fantastic battle over the final kilometre between these two astonishingly talented Germans, who I'm sure are going to lead European distance running well into the future. In third, it's Jessica Judd. Judd seems to be losing ground, though, on the Germans. And just confirmation of what you saw a moment ago. It's Great Britain, followed by Turkey and Germany. Now Ray starting to surge again over the biggest obstacle on this course. And Jessica Judd a long, long way back. Nevertheless, there's still a fine run from the Briton in the bronze medal position.
Small water barrier for Germans.
And then even further back to
Running in 3rd place.
Amy Griffiths in 4th place. There's Judd once again. Second in the junior race, Judd. Back in 2014. Woman at the front is the woman who's won it in the last 2 years. 2015 and 2016, Konstanze Klosterhalfen. But Alina Ray now back into the lead.
Over the tree.
So this seesawing of positions between the two Germans at the front. Jessica Judd of Great Britain and Northern Ireland doggedly hanging on to the bronze medal position, starting to look very tired. That was a very laboured clearance over that hurdle. Well, just a couple of 100 metres away now, and it's Ray who's edged in front. And Klosterhalfen, one of those rare occasions in the last 2 seasons when she's looked tired, as they slip into the inside track and come into the finishing straight very shortly. Just got about 130, 140 metres to go to the line, and it's looking very much as though this is Alina Ray's race. Well, having had to give second best to her compatriot Konstanze Klosterhalfen. Klosterhalfen, effort etched all over her face, but Alina Ray just adding to her advantage. Well, after so many successes as an under-20 athlete on the track, it's looking as though Alina Ray is on her way to her first gold medal as an under-23 athlete. Well, she just glanced over her shoulder, but she's got enough of advantage, and it's going to be gold goes to Alina Ray. Gold to Germany. Silver to Germany in the shape of Konstanze Klosterhalfen. And we wait to see who gets the bronze. Well, a very, very fine run there from Ray. And she just looked the more comfortable athlete from a kilometre or two into the race. A very tired Jessica Judd comes home 21 seconds behind Ray, but takes the bronze. And Judd, well, under 20 silver medalist back in 2014. Desperately tired Jessica Judd there, but it's been helped. And we see Amy Eloise Neal and Amy Griffiths following her home, so that's clear confirmation that the Britons will take, for the 9th time in the past 11 years, the team gold. But there, Alina Ray, well, she's clearly had a fantastic winter's training. She's looked the class act in the under-23 category, having won in Darmstadt last month. Here we see the rest of the runners coming through. Brouwer, a good run for the Swede, 47 seconds behind Ray, but still an excellent run from Brouwer, the Swede. Moller, last year's under-20 silver medalist, comes home 7th this time. Pizik, the pole in 8th, we didn't reckon on her. Tuna, former under-20 champion, showed at the start, slipping back to 11th. Gehring in 12th. Now, I think that may mean the Germans have moved up into the team silver medals. We'll just wait for confirmation on that. That is definitely subject to confirmation. But with 1st, 2nd and 12th, I think that's good enough to take the Germans up to the silver medal position.
There's Alina Ray being congratulated there by one of her teammates. Yes, I think Gehring did pick off a few people in that last lap, but that made all the difference.
Yes, and in fact, I don't think they ended up that many points behind Britain in the end. Here's the rest of those 60-odd runners just coming through the line. Well, that race went to form with a wonderful duel between Alina Ray and Konstanze Klosterhalfen. And just remember, both runners have got 2 more years in this ranks. Ray can come back and defend her title, not just next year, but should she actually win what would be a unique back-to-back triumph, she could come back and try for a hat-trick. And just recently, the 2019 championships were awarded to Lisbon. There's confirmation of the standings, though. Alina Ray wins 20-22, 3 seconds ahead of her compatriot, Konstanze Klosterhalfen, with Jessica Judd third. Picking off a few of the other athletes. Trebekova, well, under-23 silver medalist on the track at the steeplechase. A bit further back than I think we were thinking that she might be. Erdal the Turk, looking at a top 30 place for her, but she finished just outside the top 30. So there's the top 50 with the tail enders still coming through to the line. There's the team standings. Yes, indeed. Germany did close quite dramatically in the end. Great Britain, Northern Ireland, just 12 points, thanks to 3rd, 4th and 5th place. 1st, 2nd and 12th gets Germany 15 points and the silver medal.